Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Sammy Abdullah, co-founder and managing partner of Blossom Street Ventures. Good afternoon, Sammy.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing well.
Looks like you're outdoors there.
We've got a little yard, so we're lucky. Yes, I am outdoors.
That's good. Cool. So can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and managing partner at Blossom Street Ventures. We are a Series A, sometimes Series B focused venture fund. $1 million to $1.5 million check. Invest anywhere in the U.S. We're very quantitative, so our focus is on the numbers first, and then qualitative factors third.
Mm-hmm.
We also like special situations, so inside rounds, rushed rounds, geographies that might take a couple planes to get to. So we'll do things that are a little bit more flavorful, if you will.
And what did you do before this?
My background is a little bit of hedge fund, a little bit of investment banking, large institutional investor as well. Always have been in finance.
Oh, very interesting. So what has been your experience with remote employment?
Some of our companies have done or have, the remote model. Almost all of them have a significant remote component for their dev teams.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen remote work. I've seen remote fail.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's pretty mixed, but I think that's all going to change after this. So yeah, historically prior to COVID though, remote was not our favorite model at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it work for certain pieces of a particular organization's functions, especially on dev and engineering, but in other areas, it's nice to be not remote.
Yeah, no, I think it takes a certain discipline to embrace the remote model.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. I think if you're a less mature company, it might be a little bit harder. You're right. It's hard to say, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the future of remote employment? Since you brought it up, and what do you think could be done differently to make it more effective?
Yeah, I think remote has a very bright future now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is forced to be remote.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a statistic today that 80% of Citigroup is working remote now. And Mark Cuban recently has said a few times, like, look, this is going to change the way we work.
Mm-hmm.
There are some firms that are going to realize that they didn't need certain employees or some employees. There's going to be other firms that realize remote work is quite good and fits them well, and some employees thrive in remote.
Mm-hmm.
So the world is definitely going to be a lot more remote than it was prior to this.
No, I agree, and I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think once the pandemic is lifted, people are going to rush back to the office because they can't wait. But then I think about a week or two later, they're going to be like, I kind of like working at home, especially in the bigger cities with traffic issues and parking issues and things like that.
Right.
And you're in one of them, Dallas, right?
Right. And, when people ask me how I'm doing now, it's like, well, I'm used to things now, mm-hmm. Right? I think we've gotten past the boredom stage and we've gotten past the shock stage. And now it's just like, man, this is just a regular day. And there's worse things in life than working in your backyard around your dogs. So yeah, this is, I think remote is here to stay in a greater, magnitude than before.
You'll definitely be more accepted. And there's only so much Netflix you can watch, right?
That's right. That's right.
For a while. So tell me the story behind Blossom Street Ventures.
We were kind of an accident. I was working at a hedge fund for a period of time. At some point, made a small private investment in a bar, actually. And so myself and another individual, Kevin Vella, he was the attorney for the GP in the bar. We decided we'd like to see more private deals, and we didn't care what they were. They didn't have to be tech. They didn't have to be bars. It could be a laundromat, anything, right? We wanted to see more private deal flow. So we started a small angel network. And over 4 years or so, that angel network started to morph and get a little larger. And we also learned a lot of lessons in that we were very bad at angel investing. It's very hard to do. It's a terrible space to be in. The risk reward's way off, in my view, except for a lucky few. And so we decided to try to solve the Series A crunch, if you will. So we started our first fund back in 2014. We're on our 7th fund now. We raise a new fund every year. We deploy it in the following year. We're fully committed capital. We operate in some ways like a VC in that we have a committee, and the capital is committed and called. But we're very different from a lot of VC in that there's no associates, there's no analysts. I run the day-to-day. I'm the only guy that anybody will have to deal with. We're very creative. We can do situations that perhaps other venture funds cannot, and we like situations that other venture funds don't. We're not unicorn hunters. We look for 3 to 4 times cash on cash return in 3 to 4 years, which in venture land doesn't get a lot of VC out of bed. But for us, we think you can have pretty good fun with those kinds of returns. And so that's our goal.
It's a slightly different model. You're not going for the home run. You're going to fund steady businesses that you believe will grow.
We're bunters.
You're
we
bunters.
Get on base. And our view is if you get on base enough times, you will go to the hall. So, you don't have to hit home runs. You can get on base and steal bases and be Ricky Henderson. That's quite a fine way to go.
Yeah, small ball. It works.
It works.
So, and how did you incorporate the idea of remote at your company or at your companies? I mean, that you fund?
We don't tell our companies how to run themselves.
Okay.
We make suggestions as to what we've seen work, what we've seen not work, and then it's up to the founder to, take our information, take other information that people provide and decide what they want to do. So we don't push remote on anybody. We've seen remote work for engineering and dev. We've seen remote work for very advanced enterprise salespeople. And so, on those types of functions, we are quite, we're quite fine to be on board with remote and even promote it, especially on the salesperson side and on the dev talent and engineering. If you can find a great engineer, and he's in the Ukraine or she's in the Ukraine or they live in Idaho and they don't want to move, okay, bring that person on.
Yep.
Same thing with sales reps. Sales reps, if somebody's regionally based and they're very good and very experienced, then to get them, you've got to allow them to be remote and let them run lone wolf. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we don't push for remote. We think it's a tool in the toolkit, and if it works for some companies, great. It's not going to work for everybody, and for others, they'll thrive.
So, I mean, the coronavirus has forced the majority of people to go remote. Have you seen it? Has it caused any unique challenges or roadblocks that you didn't anticipate for both you and some of the companies you fund?
None of the companies have reported challenges now. Right? I think when everybody was having to go full on remote, it was a scramble. All of a sudden, if your team didn't have laptops, well, you went out and you had to buy 30 laptops. If you weren't used to using Zoom and Slack and some of these other tools that allow you to really be proficient at remote, you got proficient very quickly.
Yes.
Zoom is a verb now, right? So nobody is reporting new challenges, at least not in our portfolio. This is, the way that we run now. And I think it's too early to tell, right? It's too early to say, oh man, we went remote and it caused real issues in, ideation and culture and what have you, or we went remote and, we're going to stay remote, or we're going to allow our employees to go remote 1 day, 2 day, 4 days out of the week, whatever it might be. It's a bit too early to tell, but at this point we are not hearing challenges anymore.
Yeah, and I think the latter one that you said, I think it's going to be the hybrid model is going to be the de facto, if possible, going forward. I think people still need that coming into the office and seeing each other face to face, but they also enjoy the freedom of being at home and a lot of people, they gain at least an hour back of their day when they don't have to go into an office.
Sure. Yeah, it's big.
And that is big. It really, and in my case, where I live, it's basically 2 hours.
Yeah.
So there's companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. From the venture point of view, how do you see that going forward for companies, that all of a sudden they get funded by you and they're going to need quality talent and in a hurry?
How do I see
Going forward, do you think that's going to be really big, or do you think they're still going to go for the local talent?
I think, companies will default to local, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a certain je ne sais quoi that happens when you can see someone face to face, even if it's just, a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think if there's a great candidate that's remote, the concern or the hesitation to go with that candidate, I think will probably be gone in a lot of ways. So local will be preferred, because if you're local, you can come in or you could go remote, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if a candidate's remote, do you eliminate that candidate? Probably not anymore.
Probably not, and especially if they have the skills that you truly need.
Right.
Yeah, if they have background in your industry and things like that, and the technical skills that you need.
I mean, what everyone has to remember is the world before COVID was a very tight labor market. There were more job openings in the US than there were applicants, by an order of magnitude, maybe a million or so more openings than there were applicants at its peak. And we had a very low unemployment rate. So, the scramble for talent will be back on at some point, and being able to offer somebody the option to go remote or be remote, that is going to continue to be a perk. And if not a perk, then for some firms it'll be just not even a perk, but just like hey, this is normal. This is
what we do.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Sammy, this has been very enlightening. You have a unique perspective in being in the venture industry and doing venture differently than most people do it. So really great for you to spend time with us today. And I want to thank you for your time, and have a great night.
All right, Mark. Thank you for having me.
All right, cool.